All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Daily News Weekly, where we highlight the stories from the past week that you might have missed. I'm your host, Michael Sheridan, and you may have noticed we didn't post an episode last week. And there's a very simple explanation for this. The universe did not want me to post an episode. That's what I'm going with. First, I lost the SD card that had all the video from last week's episode after I filmed it. Then the next day, I tried to film the episode again, only this time, instead of coming into the studio, I shot it in the newsroom because it was easier that way. Unfortunately, the audio suffered so many problems that I didn't realize at the time I was recording, and any effort I made to try to fix it didn't work. So I succumbed to fate and just accepted that there was not going to be an episode last week. So I apologize, but we are back. Let's get on with the show. Well, it finally happened. Storm Area 51 sort of took place, and now it's time for the lawsuit. Now, this whole thing got very complicated, so I'm going to try to break it down as simply as I can as far as I understand what exactly transpired from the beginning. The original Facebook event that became a viral sensation was created by a guy named Matty Roberts, and apparently he was inspired by an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast that he had a guest on who was a UFO expert. So Matty had this idea of creating a Facebook event, Storm Area 51. He thought it was just a joke, but apparently it garnered a lot of attention, and upwards of 2 million people signed up to say that they would participate. The story, of course, then gained even more traction as media outlets started picking it up. So people started taking it a little bit more seriously because of so many people signing up to this event. The potential of people actually showing up became real. Local officials were taking precautions just to make sure that if people did show up, they'd be ready for it. So as a result, Matty Roberts apparently decided, well, if it's getting this much attention, maybe we could turn it into an event, like a Burning Man kind of thing, and actually have a concert and sponsors and all that sort of thing. Supposedly, some sponsors did get involved. Some money was exchanged. It isn't quite clear what happened to any of this money or who was getting the money. I'm not really certain I followed exactly where all that was, and I'm sure all that's going to get sorted out at some point or another. But apparently, on top of the initial event, which was known as Alienstock, other events popped up. There's one in Hico, Nevada, which apparently was being sponsored by more serious UFO enthusiasts, and then there was some event that came up in Las Vegas, mostly because the town of Rachel, Nevada, which is the small little town that exists near where people generally go to visit Area 51, is a very small place. It can't accommodate all these people. So the likelihood that an Alienstock could happen there without a lot of logistical help was unlikely. Either way, they kept going with it. The owner of the Little Alien, which is a little gift shop and diner that is in Rachel, Nevada, and is a tourist attraction, that owner kicked in money and supposedly paid out more than $100,000 in order to help organize things and make sure they had the proper permits and everything. Then, apparently, Matty Roberts backed out, fearing that this was going to be another fire festival fiasco and everything was going to go wrong. And instead, he went to the Las Vegas event. This caused a lot of problems and confusion, but it seemed like Alienstock apparently was still going to happen. And all these other events were going to happen. It isn't quite clear, at least none of the stories I saw seem to have a real head count as to how many people showed up. Apparently, it may have been about 2,000 people did eventually show up to the Storm Area 51 event. I don't even know what you want to call it anymore. It was basically Alienstock. But apparently, that's supposedly about 2,000 people showed up. A lot of UFO fans, fanatics, I'm not sure. Apparently 2 people were arrested. I didn't see any other reports of any other arrests, but 2 people were arrested. One was arrested for supposedly entering into Area 51, I believe. Another person was apparently arrested for just public urination. Then came the lawsuit. Apparently the owner of the Little Alien is suing Matty Roberts and I think other people, but I'm not 100% certain, but I think other people were involved because of the money she lost as a result. And apparently she'd entered into this thing. It isn't clear if they were proper contracts half the time or not, but she entered in it with the idea that she was going to get paid back for whatever money she was putting in. Sponsors were supposedly paying out money, but then she claims she never got any of the money. So now it's a question of who got paid, where'd the money go, was there really any money, who's to blame. It's a big giant mess, which probably shouldn't surprise anyone that something like this really turned into a fiasco. But from what I also see, people who did attend seemed to enjoy themselves. I'm not sure it was quite clear what they were doing there or what exactly the point of the whole thing was, since I guess no one really tried to get into Area 51. There was a brilliant news report of a guy who did a Naruto run, I'm probably saying that wrong again, past a guy doing a news report, which was great. I thought that was hilarious. So what do you think? Was Storm Area 51 a bust? I mean, people did ultimately show up on the date. Maybe it didn't all happen the way it was supposed to, but people did show up. But was it a failure? Did it actually achieve what it was trying to be? Did it lose its way somehow? What do you think? Okay. What? It may have started as some kind of gag, but this simple hand gesture has now become a symbol of white supremacy, according to the Anti-Defamation League. The ADL expanded and updated its database of hate symbols to include 36 new entries, among those of the OK hand symbol, which gained a lot of attention online in the last 2 years. Now, the OK hand symbol as a symbol for white supremacy was actually started as a joke on 4chan or 8chan or 10chan or whatever, by a group of, I guess, right-wingers who were really just kind of looking to get under the skin of liberals. So they invented this idea of, hey, let's just start doing this in pictures and we'll make a joke out of it, and these guys will get all worked up and we can point a finger at them and laugh. Except it kind of ended up becoming the thing it was supposed to be a joke about. Now, on top of that, other symbols were also added. One of them is the happy merchant, which is apparently an image of a derogatory image of a Jewish man, and also the moon man. Yeah, this moon man. When the clock strikes, have their seat, baby. For a full list of all the hate symbols released by the Anti-Defamation League, there's a link in the description down below. But seriously, the moon man? When the heck did the moon man become a symbol of racism? Why were racists using that? And why? I mean, I've never even given that guy any thought since the 90s. I mean, I kind of remember the commercials. I think it was all about McDonald's staying open later. But what the heck? I swear, racists ruin everything. Okay, unfortunately, it's been 2 weeks since our last episode, so these comments are going to feel a little more dated, but I wanted to go through them anyway. In the last episode, we talked about signs for Negro Mountain on 2 Maryland highways that had been removed. And the Negro Mountain is an area that's been some controversy because people have been trying to get it renamed for years. Chris Souders Sr. on Facebook wrote, WTF, name it Caucasian Mountain, then you'll cry some more. I would actually throw that back at you. If you can give me an example of any place that's called Caucasian something, let me know, because I'd be curious to see if that even exists. And Raymond Lucero on YouTube wrote, doesn't Negro just mean black in Spanish? Not a racist word, only a color of black. So I look at it like meaning Black Mountain. Go figure, right? I guess your ignorance would automatically drift that direction of thinking of in a degrading manner. I'm pretty sure the only ignorance that's being pointed out here is your own. We also talked about the female athletes and the way they are treated in sports. There were 2 examples of female athletes that kind of made the argument, or raised the question of would male athletes have been treated or dismissed in the same fashion. Rena Patton on Facebook wrote, absolutely, those athletes were mistreated due to their gender. I have to say I kind of agree, and everybody I've talked about it since then has walked away with the same thought, that if they were male athletes, none of those stories would have happened. And lastly, in the last episode, I ate a really spicy Pocky chip. It was a horrible experience, and it is not one I intend to do again anytime soon. Deirdre Leggett on Facebook wrote, I love Pocky chips, but the ghost pepper ones are plenty hot. I'm not touching that fireball. You are smarter than I. And Jennifer Hensley on YouTube wrote, I wouldn't eat one of those chips, and let me start that again. And Jennifer Hensley on YouTube wrote, I wouldn't eat one of those spicy chips, and I love spicy food. Oh, I bet your butt will be on fire later. I can say unequivocally that outside of a burning throat and some heartburn, I did not suffer any other ill effects as a result of eating the spicy chip. This is a labradoodle. It's a poodle Labrador mixed breed that didn't even exist more than 30 years ago. And the creator regrets ever mixing the two breeds. I opened a Pandora's box and released a Frankenstein's monster. These latest remarks by Wally Conran were for the Australian Broadcasting Company in a podcast that was posted last week. And now Conrad originally developed the mixed breed of poodle and Labrador in the 1980s. During that time, he was working with the Royal Guide Dog Association of Australia. And apparently the reason he did it, this is all interesting because I never knew any of this. The reason he did it is because there was a blind woman whose husband was allergic to dogs. So he created this idea of mixing poodles and Labradors together because poodles are supposedly hyperallergenic and Labradors aren't, and mix them together so that way you could have a hyperallergenic dog that could also be trained like a Labrador. And it's an intriguing idea, but he seemed to have created it for one specific purpose, but the breed has become very popular, and now it's done all the time. And it apparently breaks his heart. He fears that breeders are just mixing unhealthy dogs together and it's creating unhealthy dogs, and then it's just creating more problems, in passing on bad genetic information and creating problems. I guess it's whenever you're mixing breeds together, it can be problematic. And that's unfortunate. And that's why he feels it's so terrible. I personally just found the whole thing fascinating because I'd never even realized that labradoodles were only invented in the 1980s. And I suppose it makes sense that these mixed breeds would have to be invented. Makes me want to feel like I want to invent a mixed breed. I think it would be fascinating to have a Chihuahua and a Mastiff. Now that's a dog I'd like to see. A Michigan man was apparently on a mission to see someone die, and it turned out that that someone was him. This incident started when a 44-year-old man apparently broke into the home of a 90-year-old in Detroit. He smashed through a window in the basement, crawled in, went into the house, found the 90-year-old man, and started to attack him. Apparently was hitting him with a lamp and attacking him with scissors. This is all according to a Detroit News report. Now, according to the Detroit News, the 90-year-old told authorities that the man said to him while he was being attacked, "I want to see someone die before I kill myself." After hearing this, the 90-year-old naturally pretended to be dead, hoping that it would stop the attack, and it seems like it worked. The irony here is that the attacker, who apparently wanted to see somebody die, essentially sealed his own fate the moment he broke into the house, because when he crawled through the broken window, according to authorities, he cut his artery in his leg. So his time was already running out the moment he got into the house. And apparently he died by the time authorities got there. So remember, be careful what you ask for, because you might actually get it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of another episode. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch this show at the end of every week. Really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button down below. Please comment about your thoughts on any of the stories we talked about this week or anything about the show. And please share this video on Facebook, share it on Twitter, on whatever social medias you like. Hashtag Daily News Weekly. And have a good week, and I'll see you next time.